was like a 60% dropout rate. And we had our own nursery just for the students. There's like 40 kids in it. I think there's like a limit on like 3 children per mother or something like that. I don't know. But it was full of bastards. Like so many children in it. And my homeroom was on the 3rd floor, and this was in the basement, like 4 floors down. And you could always hear children screaming and crying through the vents. Really depressing.
Peanut butter shell. I would say we were upper middle class.
Okay.
In Glen Ellen. I mean, I think you'd like have to be upper middle class to be there. There's a lot of people who just have like a ton of money. I didn't like get a lot of stuff as a kid, but we still lived there and it was nice.
Yeah.
So.
That makes sense.
And there are kids who like get in cars all the time and stuff like that. And,
like, well, give me an example.
there was a kid that I knew whose parents, when he turned 16, they just told him that he could pick out any car he wanted that was under $50,000, which is ridiculous. And I mean, that's ridiculous even in my opinion. So.
Right.
My parents are divorced, so they had in their agreement that they would split the tuition and housing bills.
Everything's just coming out in loans and loans and more loans, so I'll have a lot
Right.
of loans to pay off.
What do you expect to have in loans?
You know, I don't really know. I'm guessing like 120, 150,000, but I don't plan on paying it off over 30 years. I plan on paying it off over like 10 years or less.
My parents made too much money to get any financial aid. I did get a small grant. They didn't do scholarships, they were grants at a private school. My first couple of semesters. And then that ran out and I wasn't eligible for it later on, so I had to apply for loans, student loans. I was allowed to borrow a certain amount from federal and then the rest had to be private loans through a company called Sallie Mae.
And what was your total in loans?
Total as far as covering tuition and housing for 4 years ended up being about $96,000. It was, when I first started paying on it, it was close to $800 a month. It was like $750 something. Now, because I'm assuming that the interest rates are down so low, the payment's about $500.
For how many years?
I don't remember if it's 20 or if it's 30, but all in all, I'll end up paying $200,000 just in interest. So the $96,000 turned into $300,000. When I graduated, there was the burden of knowing that I had these payments to take on. I didn't think about it fully, obviously, until I had to start making the payments. And I took it on for 20, 30 years, and it's just like, here I am making just this is just one bill, one portion of the bill that I have to pay, that's, bigger than my parents' mortgage. I'm paying more money a month than my parents are paying for their house that's nearly paid off.
So, I feel like the wage gap between people who graduate high school and people who graduate from college, that's been decreasing, and people have been making closer to the same wages anyway. That's just a fact that I read. And I know that like some of my friends that didn't have the money to go to college or whatever, and their parents were going to cover them, just decided not to go. I have one friend in particular who was much better off because instead of having like $150,000, $200,000 in debt, he started working at Noodles & Company 2 years ago. He's now the manager of Noodles & Company. He makes like somewhere like $35,000, $37,000 a year, has his own place, and is so much better off. Like money in the bank, bought a new car, and I mean, it just seems like why would you go to college if you can't afford it when you could at least be making a living?